Hello, all. Welcome to Hockey Tap Podcast, episode 205, draft season. I'm your host, Bill Dean, and I'm here with my one co-host, because the other two co-hosts are a bunch of jerks, EFE.
Hey,
You can find us on, we're brought to you by Primetime Radio, courtesy of Samu. I'm behind the glass. Of course, we had a long intro because my fat fingers could not hit play the intro button. But you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Please leave us a 5-star review if you would be ever so kind. Steven, what are you drinking?
I am curious if you can guess on this miserably hot day, what would be the most perfect compliment to it?
I mean, there's only one perfect hot day beverage, and that's Sequench.
Oh, you're very close. It's Festina.
Oh, Festina's a good one. Sequench, though, is when you think of beach, and hot, it's Festina to me. I mean, it's
Well,
Sequench
it's
to me.
like sequence is almost like a margarita, right? In a can, sort of, except
Yeah.
not horribly sweet. No, it's excellent, but Festina is my go-to summer
It is
beach
delicious.
anytime. And like I said, I'm looking at my thermostat. Still reads 78. I'm struggling mightily over here. You're lucky I'm wearing a shirt. Am I wearing pants though?
Yeah.
The crowd may not know ever,
They will
unless
not
I
know.
get up.
Hopefully, don't get up. Yeah. So
Keep my legs crossed.
I am drinking from. I just came back from Washington D.C., District of Columbia. For you that don't understand what D.C. means, which there's apparently a few. This
More than a
is
few.
yeah, more than a few. This is by Atlas Brewworks. I got a couple other ones. This is for Steven too, so I have a bunch for him. Blood Orange Goza. So
Okay, that sounds
good.
wonderful. I feel like I haven't
I
had
had
a
one down
Goza
there.
in
It was
forever.
very good. So yeah, Blood
We are
Orange Goza,
accompanied
and then there's a
tonight
Melvin.
by.
I'm more than certain that you will see a certain girl come down these stairs because she's running unchecked upstairs. But yeah, pretty good. The let's get what's on tap for today's episode. I hear stomping as I'm talking to you. That's why I'm saying she's running unchecked, and I can only imagine that I will see someone come down very shortly. What's on tap for today's episode? Here's a weekly snapshot. Obviously, this Stanley Cup is over, and
Yep.
Florida is still partying as of right now. Do you think there comes first of all, the hijinks that have happened on the celebrations have been funny. I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff. There was the Brad Marchand Instagram post where he's going around the table and pointing to different players and being like, "Thank you, Boston. Thank you, Chicago. Thank you, Calgary. Thank you." And I'm sure those teams love that. They're just overly happy and thrilled about that one. And then there's Sam Bennett saying that 8 by 7.5. So now it makes every pundit, Elliot Friedman and Cosentino and all these guys run around like crazy trying to figure out if these are right or not. You finally get the Barkov, going to his neighbor's home at 5 a.m. in the morning and with the cup and trying to get the husband to come out. And by the way, if someone if my neighbor came around with the Stanley Cup and my wife sounded as disinterested as that lady did on the ring cam, like he's coming down, like I would be so furious because my wife better be, oh, he's coming, he's moving fast, don't worry, have some oomph and happiness in your voice.
Chances are, I would say, they have seen and held the cup already based on last year.
Maybe.
I'm sure that they probably see and host Barkov often also. So I'm sure the relationship between husband and Barkov is very silly, like what you were noticing. And behind a lot of those silly male friendships lies a disgruntled wife.
That is very true.
And it was 5 a.m. I'd be
It wasn't like it was 2 or 3.
I'd be excited. Yeah, I guess. And 5 a.m. is that's when I wake up for work. So it's not, totally crazy. But if it was Saturday and someone just woke me up, I would immediately be pissed. And then it would take me a second to figure out what was going on because I hate the mornings. But
see, I would think
either way,
that
it's a great story.
Yeah, I would think that he kind of knew that was going to happen. Maybe he just didn't know what time, and he probably fell asleep. Because if it was me and I knew that Barkov was coming around the cup, I'm staying up all goddamn night. I might be drunk myself. It might just be,
Yeah.
pure, shitty, and just hanging out and enjoying
Maybe
everything
they're not hockey.
that there
Maybe
is
they're
to
like.
pick
I
up.
mean, I don't mean to knock on
Yeah,
them. Well, I
true.
can knock
It
on
is
them
Southern
because now they've
California.
they've won. They've won. That's where he was.
Yeah, they're
Florida.
in yeah, they're in Miami.
Florida. Florida. Yeah. You
Yeah.
said Southern California.
Oh, I meant Southern Florida. Sorry. Yeah, yeah. I
Yes.
just meant the Southern
So
Florida. Who knows if they like hockey?
So yeah, and I was even saying, and they're back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, so I'm gonna bust on them if I can. But like, they don't really have a fan base, so there's a good
True.
possibility that whoever those neighbors were aren't even hockey fans. So
They just
there's
don't care.
a good chance they probably maybe weren't even watching, even though they know that their neighbor's playing.
Yeah, the,
Who
the, the
knows?
lady, the wife is like, that athlete friend of yours is downstairs. Can you go tell
Uh,
him to piss off? Doesn't even know that it's Sasha Barkov.
yeah.
Yeah, pretty good. So, but my question was to you: is there a time where you're just like, all right, enough with the celebration. I don't need to see them drunk and pouring beer on everybody. 4, 5 days, 6 days after the parade.
Are you talking about like as a fan?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna compare it. So 2009 was because obviously when I watched when I was a fan in the early '90s when they won the cups, I was very young, so I didn't know how to celebrate. It was just like, yeah, my favorite team won. And 2009, I was how old was I? I'm not gonna say how old I was in 2009 when they won. I mean, I went wild, and when they were going wild, I went to the parade. Everything was fantastic, and then they didn't win for a while. So then
Yep.
2016 comes around. They won, and I was ecstatic again. Went to the did I go? No, I didn't go to 2016. I went to 2017. Um, but I guess the short answer, without running on and on, is no, not really. You don't really get as a fan because you just
Yeah.
like it because you're experiencing it too, and you love it.
What
So
about the
it's
players?
I don't want to speak for the players. I feel like the players in the 2017 win, not that they didn't relish the 2016 win, but the ones who were all there for 2016 and won, and then won it again in 2017. I think they went harder in 2017 than in 2016. Like
Okay.
it gave them even more. And that's what it seems like for Florida too, to me, just from an outsider looking in at their
Yeah.
celebrations and stuff. That these guys are more rambunctious than they were before, because I guess you get this mentality about like you're this unstoppable force, and now it's like setting in. We just won back-to-back Stanley Cups. Nobody can beat us. So
Yeah.
then you party a little harder. But no, as an outside fan, yeah, it looks like. I mean, I don't. I like to have fun, but watching like annihilated drunk people isn't really my cup of tea,
Yeah.
no matter who it is. But yeah, I mean, let them. I always, even if I don't like the team, let them enjoy it. I mean, it only happens. It doesn't happen to every player who plays, and I can't even imagine what it would feel like. It's winning a championship for our beer league is enough of a high for us, I guess, at this time being. But
Yeah. We're riding real high.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to tell them how to act or whatever, as long as they're not, causing damage and hurting anybody or doing anything like particularly stupid, like driving drunk or anything like that. Then,
Yeah.
go
Well,
go for it.
yeah. Have fun. Yeah, I see
Yeah,
people just like, why are they still celebrating and celebrating?
yeah. Those
Because
are
they just won the Stanley
the
Cup.
bitter
It
fans.
is,
It's bitter
yeah,
fans.
they're idiots. It's really as Edmonton fans probably what it is.
Well,
Um,
a lot of them, yeah.
and maybe Schwim. Um,
Probably swim. That's
probably
why it's
Schwim.
not on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. He's bitter because he's
He's
taking 2 weeks off because they lost
blown up
again.
the Twitter feed.
Um, all right. So obviously a few things have happened. The news just today though, Trevor Zegras dealt to the Anaheim Ducks dealt Zegras to the Flyers for pulling first round pick just a few years ago, and 2 picks, a second and a fourth. Second this year, I think it's the number 45 overall, and the fourth is in 2026. Pulling had a decent year last year. He's a depth forward for Philly, and he always played for the Canadians as well. Your immediate thoughts on Trevor Zegras? This is the guy that came second in rookie of the year voting to Moritz Seider back in, I think it was like 2019, 2020, 2019, and he had this awesome start to his career, and then he kind of fizzled, trying to find his place on the team. And this is really a change of scenery trade for them and the team. It's kind of looked like it was going to happen for a while. But what's your immediate thoughts on Zagreus going to Philly? You know, just overall for both teams.
I think Philly's identity is kind of weird, and I even mentioned in the group text earlier today, like they're doing the opposite of what they've ever done. They're
Yeah,
they seem to be going smaller and more skilled, and on the
yeah,
surface, Zegras is a very obviously every NHL player is skilled, but as far as comparatively amongst the NHL players, a very skilled player. What I don't understand is where the decline came from, and you could argue he's on Anaheim. They weren't very good, throughout his last couple of years. But you see younger guys on Anaheim really taking off and kind of leaving him in the dust. So I don't know what exactly has gone wrong because you see younger players thriving over there amongst some of the veterans as well. So I don't know why, but yeah, I mean injuries you mentioned before. So it feels like Paling was just kind of a throw-in. I guess they wanted a roster player, decent
it's
depth
Paling.
depth piece. Yeah, that's how you pronounce it. Former Penguin.
Yeah, third line.
I liked him on
He
on
was
the
a
Penguin.
Penguin.
He's fast. Yeah, he was a Penguin. Um,
Are you sure it's not his
and
brother?
it's Ryan Paling, isn't it?
It is, but they said he's only played with Canadians and Flyers. I didn't realize he played for you guys too.
No, he was drafted by the Canadians, and then he went to the Penguins, and then to the
Oh,
Flyers.
for a year. Okay, I see what it is. Yeah,
hmm
gotcha. Yeah,
So
31 points
he
his
was,
last year, 12 goals.
yeah, he's a good depth piece. He's fast. He can play the penalty kill as well. So that's good for their, probably fourth line, maybe third line over there. So that's a decent throw in. In fact, I mean, like on the surface, he almost seems like he's more impactful than Zegras has been over the past couple seasons. He's had a couple
Yeah,
moments where he looks like, okay, there he is. But mostly, like when I watch, I don't, I don't watch a lot of Anaheim games. I watch every time the Penguins play them, which is only twice a year, and then I
yep.
catch some games because they're all late. So I don't catch a lot of the West Coast games because of how late they are during the course of the week. But when I do watch the games that I watch, like I sometimes I'm just like, oh yeah, Zegras is still on the team. So I don't know what's going to happen with him in Philly if he's going to find something else or some kind of different game. But I wouldn't be overly excited as a Flyer fan to get Zegras, but you didn't give up much. A second round
No,
pick this year in a pretty weak depth draft, a fourth round pick next year. Next year's draft class is going to be better, but it's a fourth
depth
round
center.
pick.
Yeah,
So you still get a roster player back. You give up on Zegras, so I think Anaheim made out okay. I think both sides probably made out okay. I don't know what's as far as the contract goes for Zegras. I'm not familiar with what he's making right now.
I'll look that up right now. He had the two 60-point seasons to start his career in 21-22 and 22-23. He had the 31 game shortened season in 23-24. He had 15 points. Obviously, that was the first year where you're like, oh, something's happened. And then this past year, 32 points in 80 games. Sorry, 65 games. Um, Listen, I think that him and Mishkov together is going to be fun to watch. I just don't know.
Can
I feel like they're going to get pushed around a ton.
Are they even going
And
to put him with Michkov? I don't even know if they put him there.
yeah,
He's still got
well,
to earn it, you know.
yeah. I mean, but if you put him, Mishkov, and uh, what's the power forward, redhead, Ginger,
Yeah, Owen
um,
Tippett.
Obi Tibbet, that together, maybe you get some snarl with those two. But yeah, it's just he's got a 3 year. All right, so he's actually got 1 year left. He becomes
Just every
a
season.
RFA next year, 26-27. So 1 year, he signed that 3 year, $17 million deal, 5.75 per year back in 23-24. So yeah, I mean listen,
Yeah,
uber talented, 24 years old. I
yeah,
mean
he's
he's
got the
super
skill.
young. Yeah.
I mean,
Um,
24 as a forward, he's kind of 24 is. I think for the most part, this what you see is what you get at 24 as a forward.
yeah.
You don't see a lot more like development as far as like identity goes versus a goaltender or a defenseman. So I don't know. We'll see. Change of scenery. Sometimes it helps people. But like I think my overall reaction to it is that I think it's kind of the direction that Philly's going is kind of weird, but it's fine. I think that teams like that were living in the Stone Age, that your team just needs to be a roster of Neanderthals, and never have
Yep.
success. I mean, I think it's time to try, some skill.
Yeah. Absolutely agreed. Rangers actually signed Adam Edstrom to a two-year contract, so that's good. I like that one. I didn't see that before. And then Mason Lohrei got a 2-year extension for the Bruins. Joe Veleno went from the Chicago Blackhawks to Seattle for Andre Burakovsky.
Yeah.
Burakovsky, a former first-round pick, someone thought of highly, goes to a completely shitty team. Sorry
I think he
to
won a
Andre
cup, right? Did he win a
Burakovsky.
cup? I think he won a cup with Washington too. Or did he win a cup with
Yes, he did.
Colorado? Or did he win a cup with both?
Ooh, good question. Let's see. So when did they win? What were the 2 years that they won? They won in
2018
podcasting
was
right now.
Washington. 2018 was Washington. 2023 was Colorado. No, 2022 was Colorado.
So 18 Washington, he won there, and then was it 22-23 or 21-22? It would have been 22-23 because they won 23-24 and 24-25, right? Yeah, so he had just missed it. He was just actually acquired by Seattle in the expansion draft. That sucks. Yeah, that really does suck. There were a couple other trades and a pretty decent signing. One that I didn't see the money coming. Jonathan Taves signed one of those 35-year-old contracts with Winnipeg Jets. He could make, I think his base salary is $1 million. He could make up to $7 million in bonus incentives, and essentially the bonus incentives are all games played.
and like Stanley Cup win. I think he gets like a major payday if he wins the cup.
Yeah, I think it's like $1 million or $1.5 million. Yeah. Mason Marchment from Dallas to Seattle as well for a 4th and a 3rd round pick. You got to feel for Mason Marchment. He worked his tail off, and they did him right by sending him to
cap casualty.
Yeah, they did do him right by sending him to another no tax state in Seattle. So I think that was something that Jim Nill made a point of. But yeah, that kind of sucks.
You know what? I didn't even think about that. That never crossed my mind that when you get traded to a state or country where taxes are more, so you actually end up getting paid less. I didn't even
get screwed.
I didn't even think of that. That's wild.
Yeah. Eric Holla, Devils to the Nashville Predators for Jeremy Hansel, a defenseman, on a 4th. I'm sure the Let's Go Devils podcast guys talked about that. A signing that I was very unhappy with. Matt Rempe, 2-year contract extension with the Rangers. Yep. I'm really hoping that your word sings true to that. Him not wanting to play those guys, and he just stays in the AHL. We will see. Ryan Donato, Chicago, with a 4-year contract. Listen, I know he had a career year and he played really well in the regular season. Why would you want to re-sign there and not test free agency?
Why would he? Yes, I don't know.
Yeah,
that I don't know. Unless it's unless you so I guess some guys are just they plant the roots and they just want to stay.
Yeah.
And you're getting paid, so that they gave him probably what he wanted, and 4 years he's 29, right? So I'll put him to his 33 years old, and you can see from there. But yeah, I mean, he definitely could have went somewhere else and made more money. I'm certain of it, and a better team. Any team is a better team.
Thought. He probably might not have made more money because Chicago needs the players and to get a cap floor, right? So they're gonna pay guys. But
4.5 for that season. I mean, granted, it's 4.5 for one season, right? Because he had
4 years. 4 years.
Season.
Oh yeah,
4 years. No, I'm sorry. The cap hit. Yeah. I mean, it's 1 year at a monster, and he was legitimately fantastic on that god awful team. He was more of a bright spot than Connor Bedard was, and it wasn't even close, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess I can't explain it. I wouldn't want to stay there, but
no,
teach their own, I guess. I mean, because he's not going to win at those. He's not going to. I don't even think they're going to make the playoffs in those 4 years.
Yeah, I can't see him. 31 goals, 62 points in the 80 games that he played. Bedard had 67 points. Um, but yeah, just the entire like that roster. I mean, I know you have Burakovsky now, but like, so your top line is Donato, Bedard, and Teravainen. Like,
I
where
don't
does
even think
that
Donato was on the top line last year.
probably wasn't?
I
I
know
guess was he
he
skating with?
eventually they eventually put him on the top power play. He wasn't on the top power play all last year either.
He had
So a lot of that
14
was
points
like,
in the power play.
hard earned. I think most of the season I know that
Third,
in the final maybe quarter of the season or so he was averaging about 20 minutes a game. But prior to that it was like, 13.
his average is
So
15.
he was
Yeah,
yeah, so I mean he met in the middle, but at the end there he was playing a lot of minutes, but on the power play and so on. But yeah, I mean that season is even more impressive when you break it down because he just wasn't like he wasn't a top line winger. He wasn't on the top power play, and he had all that success, and he basically just earned all of that through the course of the season until they finally bent and put him where he's supposed to be. I don't know. I was really impressed with Donato last year. I think he was like one of the most underrated stars of last season.
yeah. I did want to have just some comments I got in YouTube and Facebook. I did want to have Ryan. Sorry, Ryan. Donato. I did want to have our friend Drew Way on here, but he had some conflicts, so we will speak to him later on, maybe after the draft, discuss kind of what's happened. He's extremely busy, and we appreciate obviously the love and support he's given the pod to date. The um, Connor McDavid comments, and we'll talk a little bit of the draft in a little bit, but the Connor McDavid comments before we get to the draft about him potentially, him looking at the window that Edmonton can give him in order to win and basing his next contract off of that. I think he's headed towards one of those small deals, like a 2-year, give me 15 million per, you know, try something like that, as opposed to the big 8-year deal. I just think that's smarter for a guy like that
Yeah.
who, sees what Edmonton is and essentially what it's going to be next year is the same thing, even though Stuart Skinner did ask for a trade. Um,
Did
what
he?
were your thoughts on McDavid?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, Stuart Skinner asked for a
Well,
trade.
I mean, he definitely didn't. If I was an Oilers fan, he definitely didn't like give me any sort of boost of confidence in what he wants to do. Um, but I mean, and then you look at the numbers of what they're thinking that they're going to throw at Evan Bouchard. So, like, I mean, they're handcuffing themselves even more as far as the cap goes to really fill
Yeah,
out that lineup. I know the cap's going up, but I mean, you're going to get McDavid, who's going to get a raise, obviously. And then you're adding another, I don't know, the raise that Bouchard's going to get. I don't know what his contract is now, but he's looking at 10 million a year. I mean, that's massive. And I know Bouchard is
you think he's
great
going to
for
make more than
points,
Kel
but
McCarr?
I think that, well, I mean, Makar was a steal, his contract. So yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
nine
there's
and a
going to be
half.
guys that are going to make more than there's going to be guys that are going to make more than Makar, and that's blasphemous in my opinion that a defenseman could possibly make more than him. But they are because Makar, I think, signed a team friendly deal. Bouchard's not, and he's following the leader. None of them have, and I don't. They don't have to. Nobody has to take a hometown discount. I'm not saying that they
Yeah,
should, but I mean, you look at some of the more successful teams. They've had guys that have taken, leaders on the team who've taken less money to build a better roster. Especially, recently when the cap was so flat. It wasn't going up. It was relatively, small, and now it's like constantly going up, and guys are just like, no, pay me over there, and that seems to be like the culture. Everyone's just going for the massive payday.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think if he stays in Edmonton, I think the most likely scenario is what you had said. Um, Maybe 2-3 years, make probably the same, more of a cap hit, like you said, but 2-3 years to see where they're going to go. So he doesn't, he's not trapped there. Granted, he'd be an easy trade no matter what, but if he
yeah,
wants to go to a contender making that much money, that contender would have to move a lot around to try and fit that under the cap. So I think it would
yeah,
be easier to sign for a couple years and then sign a contract somewhere else.
yeah. They could move out roughly 9 million if they were to deal, Kane and Arvidsson and not take back salary. I think Kane is out there already, and I think the team would take him. Um, Yeah, they're projecting Evan Bouchard for about 10.5. This is evolving hockey, which is a pretty
Yeah.
good on the contracts. He currently makes he's at 3.9 million a year. Um, yeah, it's going to be a huge boost after this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, all right. Lastly was the draft. Obviously going to be this Friday. I don't think Let's Go Devils is going to do a hockey pod this Friday live, so we'll probably do some reactions next week, or have some guys do some reactions next week. I will be out in Scotland. The the draft, and everyone talks about what's going to happen. Not only picks but trades. You've already seen a couple. I'm sure there's going to be a flurry of Avalanche ones. Avalanche of trades, not the Colorado Avalanche. We also will figure out what happens with the Rangers pick going to Pittsburgh, which is a pretty big one. I have
It's
not
got to
heard
be
anything
up
on it.
soon, right?
Yeah, is it
Friday,
48
so
hours?
by Wednesday, they need the answer by
Yeah, well,
Wednesday.
no. Yeah, 48 hours before the draft. So if the draft starts at 7, they have to do it by 7 o'clock on Wednesday. Yeah. Um, there's obviously at the top is Matthew Schaefer. He's probably going to go number one. He's all world defenseman. People like him a ton. Um, but after that is where it kind of pick your avenue. They say there's about 12 players in this draft, 12 to 13 guys that would be the top echelon, and then it drops quite severely after that. There's about 5 centers, including a couple guys in Michael Misa, who's probably the second overall pick to San Jose, Frundell from Sweden, Brady
Mm-hmm.
Martin, who's now all of a sudden the big name, kind of rising up the draft. They
Yeah.
say he's Sam Bennett. Now everyone wants to find their Sam Bennett.
Oh, even
Um,
they're calling him Tom Wilson too.
yeah. Jake O'Brien,
He's a
and
big
finally you
kid.
have, yeah, you're right. Finally, you have Roger McQueen, who's projected as the fifth center only because of injuries, but he could be the second overall rated player if he was not injured. He had a back injury. Um, then you have Dave. I'm gonna mess this up. Caleb Day 1A, I think it is the QMJHL center. But you have a couple of big wingers, Porter Martone, as well as it's Porter Martone and it's oh geez, I just had it too. Victor Eklund from Sweden,
Yeah.
and then a couple other defensemen. You have Aitchison, you have uh, Murtek, Radim Murtek. He's the 6'6"
Mm-hmm.
monster from the WHL, and then finally Jackson Smith. All of them are pretty big mobile defensemen, which So I don't know if you've taken a look at some of these guys, if you know what Pittsburgh's looking at, but any names immediately stick out to you as interesting? Obviously, James Higgins, who's kind of floating in and out of where, will he go top 6? Will he not?
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
There's so much. There's so much discussion. So I was just reading up on some of the prospects. I don't obviously follow it as closely as you do, but I was reading up on some of the prospects and potential fits in the Penguin system, for example. But like you said, it's just we don't know who's going to drop where or
Yeah.
what. I don't know if I know I would someone like Frondell would be Frondell or Brady Martin. I think would be wonderful. I don't think they're going at 11, right? 11 and 10. The Rangers at
Uh,
12, right? Or 12
so
and
yeah,
13.
Frondell, they're talking about him maybe going as high as 2, as low as
Yeah,
6,
like
and
or even
then
like 5, anywhere from 2 to 6, right? But you don't know where
yeah,
these guys are going to drop because we're just not sure what some of these teams are
yeah,
looking
it's smoke
for because
signals.
you can't just go you can't just go like the well, I mean you could go like the best person at the time and not really filling positional needs, but they're all basically around the same. But they're all quite good. So now it's like and the defenseman Murtek, right? You said
Yep.
I know that he was talked about a lot, but whether or not these guys drop, who knows? So I think some of the discussions, and like I said, they're just discussions. There's obviously not a single rumor out there. Is with a lot of teams is trading up. Um,
Yeah.
if the Penguins do end up taking, um, the Rangers pick and pick It's 11 and I'm sorry, it's 11 and 12, or is it 12 and 13?
11.
What was the Rangers pick?
It's 11 and 12.
11 and 12, right? 11 12. It's
Yeah,
11
11
and 12.
12.
Yeah. So if the Rangers end up giving it to Pittsburgh, and you package both those picks to move up, I mean, I don't know what team would agree to do it, because 11 and 12 is still, you can still get, potentially some of those guys depending on what you want, or somebody like Utah, who just moved up in the draft as high as they did,
Yeah,
not
fourth.
expecting it, maybe not needing whatever, or I don't know. So you could potentially package those two picks for a much higher pick. Whether or not they would, I don't know. But I think that there are a lot of teams inquiring about moving up because of that.
Hmm.
Like, I guess, 6, 7, right? From 1 to 6 or 7, you have those really, really
Yep.
potentially impactful guys. And then you have, 7 to 12, which is, not quite as impactful, but a lot of promise.
She's extremely talented.
And
Yeah.
then, yeah, and then from there on, it just kind of drops off. So I think you do
Yep.
have a lot of teams that are probably going to want to trade up. And I don't know what the asking prices would be, because if I'm somebody in the position of 1 through 7, like, I don't, like, why would you trade back? Because you have no idea what you're going to get. Yeah, you could potentially get consecutive first round picks in Pittsburgh's example, if you want to
Uh,
move up to, I don't know, 4 or 5, whoever's there. Not a bad deal, but
Yeah,
who
I think if
knows?
Utah makes a trade, it's for an impact player. I don't think it's because they are looking for more picks.
Yeah, and I mean, there you have, and like I said before, I would like to be wowed for a trade for somebody like Rust or Raquel. And if you're packaging one of those for like a number 4 overall pick or something along those lines, then I think that, potentially
Yeah.
makes it intriguing. So, but who knows? I don't know. I mean, as far as I know, Pittsburgh's is gonna pick where they pick. Who knows what's happening behind the scenes? But I do know that, like, if we were to have like a live event, I don't even know that we would want to go past 15, because then it just gets,
No.
yeah,
Really,
it's
13.
yeah, it's really, I don't want to downplay that, because the talent in that top 12 really is there. It's just anything after that is, who the heck knows how they're going to develop, because right now
Yeah,
they're
New
not
Jersey
showing
obviously doesn't have
much.
have their pick. They give it to Calgary. But yeah, really after 13, 14, because there probably be one guy that slips. There's always some team that takes a
Yeah.
player out of nowhere and you don't see it coming. Um, I really like Roger McQueen. I know the back injury is scary and it scared a lot of teams, and that's why he's kind of fallen. But at 12, if the Rangers do stay there, he's the perfect guy to grab. And it's a lottery ticket, right? If he hits, all of a sudden you have a top 3 or 4 player in this draft. And for a Rangers team that doesn't have many centers, it's a big move for them. I would love for him to fall if he does. Also,
Yeah.
Aitchison or Murtek or even
Aitchison's another
Jackson
one.
Smith
Yeah.
if they're there. Those
Hmm.
3 defensemen are that next little set, and they're awesome. I just Brady Martin, let someone take him at 4 or 5. I like the kid. He's a lot of fun to watch, and I've seen him in interviews, and he's obviously talented. But if you're looking for him to be Sam Bennett, just take the skill first and let that guy develop into possibly a Sam Bennett. You're just taking it one single trait and making that why you're going to pick that kid. That just doesn't seem to me
Yeah.
like good value. So, um,
Frondell. I
you
would
know,
I would love Frondell.
Frondell
I would
is
love
awesome. Yeah.
Frondell.
Yeah, they've said he could be a Forsberg-ish player.
Yeah.
Not not obviously Peter Forsberg, but Philip Forsberg. Still,
Right.
Philip
Yeah.
Forsberg is pretty awesome. So Michael Misa will probably go too. Like I said, obviously the number one you know position player, just position player, number one forward. Um, second leading goal scorer. He was awesome until he got injured for Saginaw. Uh, he's just dirty, and he's going to go 2. Hopefully, Chicago isn't able to get him at 3 because that would just be a little upsetting for them to actually get good players and ruin them. Uh, yeah, we can end it there. Obviously, with the draft coming up, every team kind of thinks that they're the team that makes the best pick or they do the best thing, and we'll see how trades kind of envelop the draft, which sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I always feel like we look for a draft that gets a ton of play in the trade market and just sometimes never happens. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you think it's going to be an active draft or no?
I mean, anytime we in the past that we're like, it's definitely going to be, it never has. And I feel
Do you
like
think the cap ramifications will help it, like it just going up?
I don't know. I don't know. Like I don't know what it's going to take for because it's been a while since we had like a really active draft as
Yeah,
far as like teams moving positions and stuff. Even though like all signs are pointing to this team moving up here, this team offering this, and this team offering that. Granted, we don't know if it is offered and it's just declined, but I'm not going to bank on anybody moving up. I think it's probably going to stay the way it is because of the. I don't know that anybody besides who's picking maybe 1, 2, and 3 really knows who they're eyeballing. So it's like
yeah,
almost like a
probably
wait,
two.
a wait and see type thing. So you could, I
Yeah,
mean, maybe see if there's a deal that's been discussed. You see 1, 2, and 3 go, and then Utah's picking, and then somebody comes in and be like, "Well, this player's still available, so I'm going to give
yeah,
you all of this year's draft picks." Granted, that would be really stupid, but just think all of this year's draft picks and next year's first round pick for the number 4. Maybe. Who knows? But
yeah.
I doubt it. I'm not gonna get my hopes up about it. I like seeing some movement. I would actually like to see Pittsburgh trade up. I just don't know what they would have to give up in order to do that. But
I think
I
you're
would like
looking
to
at,
see them maybe
if
trade
it's a
third.
if it's a Utah, it's going to be Raquel or Rust. I would think that would have to be involved.
I would think that there would probably be a roster piece from Utah coming over, whatever it would be.
Probably.
It would be either
Yeah.
Rust or Raquel. You'd at least swap positions in the
Ones.
first round,
Yep.
and then probably another pick or another picks somewhere in
Yeah.
there.
The name that is always thrown out with Utah is Jack McBain, and I like him a lot. I think he's a very good
Yeah,
player, good third line center, possibly a second liner. People will say, "Oh, is he the next Sam Bennett?" But everyone now is comparing Sam Bennett's. But
there is Sam Bennett,
um,
who
yeah,
has miserable
really,
regular seasons, almost
yeah,
unnoticeable in the
50
regular season.
points,
Then he wins a
50
Conn Smythe.
points, and he's going to make $10+ million this offseason.
Yeah, just because of his
Equivalent, if
postseason.
yeah, yeah. If he goes to Florida, it'll probably be $8 million. But if he goes away from Florida, it's probably close to $10 million because he's going to want to make up for that tax. And let Toronto do it. Just Toronto, have fun,
Hmm.
enjoy it. You idiots, let Marner go for a guy that just because he's sandpaper and grit. That's how teams do. They make dumb decisions based off of just idiot
Yeah,
brains. My beer, Steven. I think you will like this one. I get a 4.425. It's really good. It's,
I'm excited to try it.
blood orange goza.
My Festina's getting a 5 tonight because
Always.
my thermostat still says 78. So
Oof.
we're cooking.
Yeah, get some. We're cooking with gas. Get some lovely fans up in that place. All
Yeah.
right, draft this Friday. Free agency starts next Tuesday. I will be out next week, but we will come back with a fantastic show in 2 weeks
Heck yeah.
to go over the official recap for free
All the
agency, and hopefully
chaos.
these guys can do something good for the draft. Everybody, enjoy your time. Schwim, you suck. Love you guys.
Yeah.
I